I'd like to call the meeting to order. Regular meeting, 7:30, public meeting room. Rachel, please call the roll.
I thought you were right.
David, Mr. Fisher, or Dr. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Fuller?
Here.
Mr. Kerpow? Ms. Levine?
Here.
Mr. Malta?
Here.
Mr. Morrell? Mr. Shepard?
Here.
Here.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Worrell?
Here.
And Chairman Good?
Please stand for the salute to flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township Clerk on July 25th, 2018. Emergency notice. There's an emergency exit through the courtroom doors and 2 exits at the rear of the room. No smoking. Board policy. No new cases will be started after 11 p.m. and no new testimony taken after 11:30. In addition, the applicant will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. Notice all meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel 22, on Verizon Fios Channel 77, on Cablevision. All cell telephones must be turned off, or if you need to make a call, please make your call outside the meeting room. First order of business, can you
Yes.
Yes. We need to swear in Danielle because she's been bumped up in position. So if you solemnly swear, read that. Good.
Sure. I, Danielle Levine, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. I do further solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all of the duties of the position of alternate 1, member of the Board of Township of the Board of Adjustment, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Just sign that and you continue for the same pay.
Okay, moving right along. Case is carried to February 21st, 2019 for Har and Rebecca Salome, Block 22, Lot 44.02, 249 Overbrook Avenue, Oakhurst. Morris Dweck, Block 43, Lots 1 and 2, 300 Parker Avenue, Deal Park. 485 South Edgemere Drive, LLC, Block 76, Lot 5, 485 South Edgemere Drive, West Allenhurst, Jack Franco, Block 8, Lot 11.01, 33 Old Farm Road, Oakhurst, Scott and Cindy Van Bevel, Block 182, Lot 46, 19 Fieldstone Lane, Wayside, Russell B. Williams, Block 115, Lot 1, 1901 Sunset Avenue, Wanamassa, Abraham and Yvette Hittery, Block 22, Lot 101, 10 Portage Path, Deal Park, and case number 2, Orrin Linder, Block 40.03, Lot 3, 608 Deal Road, Ocean Zone R3, carried to 221. Next, resolution of memorialization. Maverick Nunez Valles, Block 38. Since the resolutions are posted on the wall, and hearing that no one would like me to read them individually, I think that... Can I offer these all, Mark, as one?
You have to.
You can do the first 3, not including Burke.
Yeah. Burke was
Okay, not
passed
Burke.
a different night.
Okay, so we're going to do Burke first. Burke Contracting, LLC, Block 142, Lots 40, 40.01 and 46, 3602 Sunset Avenue, 1001 Hopewell Avenue, Ocean, preliminary and final site plan. Can somebody offer?
I'll offer.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Rachel, please call the roll.
Dr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Kerpow? Oh, he's not here, sorry. Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
And Mr. Van Wagner?
Yes.
Okay, the next 3 I'm going to read all of them. Maverick Nunez Valles, Block 38, Lot 117, 149 Bound Road, Wayside, bulk variance approval. Bevan Irvin, Block 117, Lot 3, 1707 Sunset Avenue, Wanamassa, bulk variance approval. Stacy Fisk and Scott Kemley, Block 61.03, Lot 3, 600 Woodland Road, West Allenhurst, bulk variance approval. Someone please offer.
Offer.
Second.
Rachel, please call the roll.
All right.
Dr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Mr. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner.
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell.
Yes.
That brings us to case 1, David Abadi, Block 9, Lot 16, 60 Norwood Avenue, Oakhurst, R1 zone. This is an application for a D variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use by adding a 2-story addition to the rear dwelling unit and a 1-story addition to the side dwelling unit where there are 5 units on one lot. Bulk variances for the rear dwelling unit are also required. Attorney for the applicant, Robert T. Farber, Esquire. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, but just before you go, this is a D variance, so we need 5 affirmative votes. So who is eligible?
We only have 5 eligible members.
Now, I believe that Henry read the transcript and
No, I listened to the CD.
Well, I meant that.
Yeah.
Same thing. That he listened to the CD, so you're eligible. Who else is eligible?
Dr. Fisher, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Shepida, Mr. Snow, Mr. Van Wagner, and Mr. Worrell are all eligible to vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6.
Yep.
6. I got 6. Now, in the event that you, I think you want to proceed. In the event that you would want 7 full votes for some reason, we could carry it for a vote, and we'll have one of the members who's here tonight listen to the first meeting, which they didn't hear. Who would that be? That would be Russell.
Mr. Malta.
Mr. Malta.
So the tape is short from the prior meeting, so that in the event that you want to,
Tempt me.
you feel it's necessary to have all 7 votes, since you'd hear the bulk of the case tonight, we can do that. Or if you want to call for a vote tonight, that's up to you. I would just ask before we proceed, and maybe we could have the application slightly changed. Okay, the original application, not that the applicant's done anything wrong. The application was to expand. There's 5 dwellings on this site, which were pre-approved as pre-existing non-conforming uses. And one of them, he's adding a 2-story addition, and one he's adding a 1-story addition, or something like that, right?
He withdrew the application as to the kitchen expansion on one of the properties.
Right. But now you reinstated it.
No, we haven't.
Oh, it's still only one?
We're only doing one.
Oh, I missed that. I thought you were coming back with that.
I initially had planned to, but my client has absolutely no plans to expand it, so I didn't read
Okay, so we're back to the original. Then it's my fault, because I thought it went like a ping pong ball. But so all they're doing tonight is expanding one of the 5 buildings. So before you proceed with your case, maybe we could have our planner just reiterate in brief his report from the last time to refresh everybody, including Russ in the event he votes later. And of course, Russ is eligible for questions tonight and participate in the hearing.
Is the packet marked?
The packet has already been marked for one from the last meeting.
This meeting, yeah. So
Jen?
just give us a
So,
fast overview.
so the 2-story addition is the one that's proposed? Okay, the 1-story addition, okay. You have it's a 2.09 acre lot. It's a flag lot. It's accessed by a 270-foot long, what do you call it, flagpole, for lack of a better word, off of Norwood Avenue. And as I scaled it off, a 12-foot wide driveway. There are 5 residential structures on the site. A use variance was granted for the 5 residential structures on the site. So that since a use variance is granted, the courts have ruled that you really don't have to look at the positive criteria. You've already shown that there are special reasons for the 5 units, but you do have to look at the negative impact of what's being proposed as far as the expansion. In this case, you've got an existing building. It's 0.3 feet off the rear property line, and they're proposing a 3.6 foot setback to the new addition. 40 feet is required for the rear yard, and it's about 30 feet long, so it'll be 3.6 feet, 30 feet long, 2 stories from the rear property line, and they're going from 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. So I think the issue is the intensity of use of the site, as well as the bulk variance for the setback. I think you need testimony as to both of those issues. And the one concern is you do have a 12-foot wide driveway, and that 12-foot wide driveway is about 270 feet long, and you can't fit 2 cars easily by them. You might be able to get 2 smaller cars that could pass one by the other, but it's be very difficult. And if the driveway were a little bit wider, I think it would make it much easier. That's essentially it in a nutshell.
I have a question, Jim. Can
Yes.
the driveway be made wider?
It's a 20-foot wide area. It's 12 feet wide, so you could put 2 feet on the north side of the driveway. The only issue is that there are columns at the end of the driveway, and you could either have to leave them there and just have the 12-foot access to Norwood Avenue, or require that one of those columns be moved, and I don't know how easily it is to move them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just one other thing, Mr. Fitzgerald. From a engineering evaluation,
Higgins.
I'm sorry, Mr. Higgins.
Okay.
I think the engineering report was read in the last time. There are no engineering concerns. It's primarily planning concerns, and I apologize.
That's okay. I've been called worse.
No, so have I. I'll elicit testimony from 2 people right now.
Okay.
You have the architect here. I don't know if his testimony will be required, but the owner, Mr. Abadi, will elicit testimony about why there's an expansion, and it's for his children. I don't think you'll hear any testimony that would suggest this property is going to be trafficked in any more than it has been already. We also have a professional planner here, Barbara Ailin, and she will testify as to the criteria regarding planning. But first, if we may have Mr. Abadi.
Mr. Abadi, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Carlos Abadi. Address is 16 Norwood Avenue. So we kind of live in the home right now. I have 3 children, and we kind of just want to make a small extension to be more comfortable. That's really it.
The addition is for your children. How old are your children?
They are 7, 5, and 1.
Okay, so they're not drivers.
No, they're not
And
drivers.
they will not be for the very foreseeable future.
No, not at all.
Okay, do you anticipate that this addition, if the board were to grant it, would appreciably in any way increase the traffic?
No, not at all.
Typically, the only people there are your family and your guests, because it's a family type of compound,
Yep.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, and again, this expansion is solely for living space for your children. So they have individual bedrooms, so it's more comfortable. And the children are not driving, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, I presume you do not object to my leading this witness.
Nope, absolutely not.
I have no further questions unless the board does.
Yeah, I have just some questions for clarity. Are you the applicant, or are you the son of the applicant?
I'm the son.
The son, and you're the occupant of the residence that's being expanded?
Yes.
Okay.
Which residence is being expanded? This one?
So one, that's
Planner
the,
can
yeah.
discuss that, but here's a picture of the property. A nice aero view, and here we go. It's the one that's on the yellow dot.
Okay.
We'll get that introduced
Yeah.
with
Alright.
the planner.
If anybody needs to see it, if they're in the application. Okay.
Why did you ask?
All right.
Okay, so at any given time, how many drivers are on the property?
Um,
Oh, it's not Carlos. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
so there's 4. My parents,
Right.
they live on the other side, and
Right.
then me and my wife that will live in the back.
Okay.
So the driveway goes all the way to the back, and it opens, and then one goes to the back, one goes to the
Do
back.
the drivers expand at any time of the year? Are there more cars there?
Not necessarily. I mean, unless there's people coming over, and then, but
Okay.
not living there.
I mean, the concern from Mr. Higgins is the width of the driveway. If there's any future plan to have more people there.
Well, wait, there's 5 units, correct?
Yeah.
You live in one.
Yes.
Your parents live in one.
Yes.
What about the other 3?
Nothing.
They're vacant.
They're vacant all the time?
Yes.
Well, actually, you described to me once that sometimes when you want quiet, you go to one of them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You did say you have a 1-year-old child or 7-year-old
Yes.
child.
Yes.
But
But no one lives there.
But those residences could be occupied
Absolutely.
sooner or later, correct?
Possibly.
I mean, you have 3 kids; they could grow up and
Uh,
live there,
maybe. I
live
mean,
there
that's,
also.
could be.
I'm just concerned that Mr. Higgins has a concern about the width of the driveway. If it's not a big deal, I won't make a big deal out of it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I wanted to point
Okay.
it out to the board.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's fine. Are you happy with the driveway the way it is?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, quite frankly, if 2 cars have to pass, one of them pulls over on the grass and the other
Okay,
goes.
We've never had an issue with the
okay,
car.
that's fine. Any questions from the board?
What?
Next.
I would like to introduce as an expert Barbara Higgins, but Barbara Palin. Barbara, why don't you come up and we'll go over your qualifications for you.
We don't have to do that. Just raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
You've testified here before.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And you are a licensed employee of the state of New Jersey.
And my licenses are all current.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Barbara, you were, first of all, let me get you.
Barbara, how do you spell your last name?
EHLEN.
Have a easel.
We have to.
Similar. I want to press to see how.
Did I get any messages?
No, I didn't see it.
I thought maybe Trump wants to use this.
Barbara, we're also going to have to mark those. Okay. Rachel's going to have to mark those. Okay.
Do you want to have these marked first?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we're just going to mark
Yep.
these.
Going to
two
mark
things.
these. Well, you have to explain what they are, please.
Okay.
Here,
Okay, so you might as well put them on the easel.
No, but she can mark them.
Yeah. Okay. So Rachel.
Rachel doesn't have to get up and down. Let Rachel mark them.
Rob, I have in my notes that we marked one of the plans at A1.
Problem is,
So I'm gonna
Let's start with A2.
I don't remember.
That's fine.
But they
This
received
this
the
one.
approvals for the five, and one or two of them before. I mean, this was just expanding one of them. Have to come back because it's pre-existing non-conforming, but it's like.
Do you want to mark? All right. The first exhibit A2 is an aerial of the property, a Google image, dated 2019. It shows the property and the approximate boundary of the parcel. Lot lines were a little bit hard through the trees. This one depicts the current configuration of the lot. Again, it is a flag lot, so entrances from Norwood over here. This is the coach house, which is the largest of the structures. It is actually currently vacant. This is the home, which the parents are living in. And there's 1, 2, and 3. This is the subject property. These two are actually single bedroom units, so even if they did become occupied, they're not exactly large, and if they were to expand, obviously they'd have to come back before the board again. The addition that they're proposing is to the rear, so it would be along here. My next exhibit is A3. This is the current home. This deck right here and this rear wall is what you see here. So this is where the addition would go. Along the front is a parking area, which is stone. And this actually, you could see it through here. This is the structure that's closest to the home. It's an abandoned, I think, home. It could have been a garage. Windows have been boarded up, things of that nature. I did want to point out on the aerial, when you come in, the driveway does divide. So there's a driveway that continues along here. So it's between this structure and the property line. So there's also another constraint besides the columns up there. But it does have a circle up here. There's an extra little parking spaces up here before it continues down, and then there's a shared parking area back here. So, if I may.
Now, you're familiar with the letter Mr. Higgins wrote and prepared on, I believe it's October 16th.
Yes, I am. And so I just...
That letter, he had an analysis where there were certain positive criteria and other criteria that he wanted to have elaboration on.
Well, if he did discuss that the positive criteria was satisfied, though we do say the benefit here is also allowing a family to stay in Ocean Township and to actually bring a home into closer conformity with the zoning standards. I know that there is going to be a rear yard setback variance, but actually the building doesn't meet the minimum square footage requirements of the zone. Let me see. Give me 1 second. So the zone requires the first floor to have a first floor area of 1,400 square feet, where currently it's 834 approximately. And it requires it to have an overall square footage of 2,700, where it currently has about 16,000. 1,600, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a big house. Currently has about 1,600. So with the addition, the first floor would become, the first floor would contain a a little bit over 1,400, so it would just meet the standard, and the overall home would contain about 2,900, a little bit over the standard. So it's actually, although it's creating or continuing an existing rear yard setback variance, it's actually curing another deficiency. When we look to your master plan and zoning ordinances, we note that it does want to provide adequate and affordable and balanced supply of housing for all types of current and prospective population, housing types for current and prospective population, and to ensure that future development of the township does not conflict with the existing land uses. This is a permitted use within the zone. It's envisioned for the area. The home itself, even though an addition is proposed, the lot and building coverage are still far beyond what's permitted for the zone. So they're not overbuilding. It's just the location of the home as is kind of dictates where they can put the addition. The addition itself is not overly ostentatious. He has 3 children. He's proposing a 4-bedroom house. So the configuration of the home will allow a hallway to access all the bedrooms on one side instead of having to split them up. With regards to the bulk variance, first, I'm sorry. With regards to the municipal land use law, I would say that we promote G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses. And M, to encourage the coordination of various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development to the more efficient use of land. The use is permitted in the zone, the home exists, but it's not functional for a modern growing family. These homes date to the early 1900s, pursuant to the local tax records. They didn't expect what is now currently anticipated for a home for a family. And as I said previously, the most impact will be felt by currently available structure. With regards to the rear yard setback, we do request a C2 variance to permit the setback of 3.6 feet where 0.3 exists. So the addition will actually be shifted a little bit. It'll come out a little bit from the sideline. So it's a little bit tricky because this line kind of shoots along here. So they're setting it off a little bit, but it's still the rear lot lines there. There's nothing they can do about it. With regards to our negative criteria, I know the first condition was the driveway, but it currently exists. It's how the lot's being accessed. And I also note that the buildings that are occupied are by the same family. So it's not like they're going to be arguing over the driveway. It's a shared driveway so they can have the conversation. They know each other's schedules. And if anywhere else were to move in or they need to do more work, obviously they'd come before the board and the board would have another discussion over the traffic and the adequacy of the driveway. Are there any questions?
I just, maybe to Rob, and I may get this application confused with others because I've been here for a while. Is there a D, when we granted this came before the board and the D variance permitted, or you got a pre-existing non-conforming use certification?
Mark, I had nothing to do with it.
No, I know, but that happened. No, that did happen. No, we're not saying it did. Is there a deed restriction that's family use only? I could be mixing myself up with other applications.
I don't recall that.
Okay.
I did not order a title search and I have not looked at the master deed. So
It-
I can't really
No, it would be in our board records.
There was a deed restriction that we recently got cleared up to close out that approval that they got before we let them proceed with this application.
And do you
I don't recall exactly what it was for, and I don't have that file with me.
Well, it is what it is, okay? And it doesn't affect this application. I'm just saying to the board, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that this is a family-only use. Is that possible? That it was approved as a family compound and not to third parties, which would be beneficial if the board knew that. But even if the board doesn't know that, they can consider the application. But
Well, if Mark couldn't, even if we...
do you remember this?
I kind of do, but even if I can't recall if we did the deed restriction, but if you did it again, it's not. I mean, they both run with the land. It's not as if. It's
Well, I
gonna-
don't. No, I wouldn't get into that at this point. I wouldn't require them to have another deed restriction if we didn't give it to them before, because they're just expanding one building. I wouldn't suggest that.
How
Oh
long
yeah, I
ago
thought you
was
were.
this?
That's why.
What?
How long ago would that have been?
It was in 2005. My report on that one is dated August 31st, 2005.
I'm having trouble with breakfast today. I can't remember. 2005.
Found something. I just, if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. I did a review on it recently. How do you like that?
Okay.
Only trying to make
Yeah.
Any other?
The current owner, as well as, okay. Let me just say, I'm closing the deed notice. Let me just see what it says. Just bear with me a second. Kevin Bransley did it?
I mean, it wasn't an objection.
Okay.
Accordingly.
Here's the deed. Oh, here's the deed restriction.
Wanna
Okay.
make this a family compound is one, do this, that, but if it's not the same one, but
Well, this long deed restriction on this one. Oh, this is. Oh, I gave this deed notice is for Habitat for Humanity, but that was the example that I gave him to follow. I don't think this has to be in our file. So this is the one which is not recorded, but this is for Rick Brodsky. These are just okay. What you have here is that we required a deed restriction granting the extension of a non-conforming use on April 12th, 2017. 60 Norwood Avenue, is it this?
It's this.
Subject to the 5-family dwelling on the site remaining a single-family dwelling. Premises being used only as and for single-family residential purposes. Okay. I just subject to filing a deed restriction. And I gave him some forms that I've used in Asbury Park. That's what was here. I enclosed the forms of deed I've used. Okay. And then he must have done it. I just don't I don't recall what the deed restriction was. It doesn't make sense what I'm saying in this letter. So let me just.
What you're describing, it sounds like it can't be developed or subdivided without.
Yeah, let's
be
see.
able to
The actual language of the approving resolution states that the same is, quote, subject to the filing of a deed restriction. Okay. That the current owner of the subject property, as well as his heirs and assigns, cannot rent any of the structures on the property. Okay. Okay, so they can't rent the structures. Okay, I think that's okay. They can't rent it, meaning that it's for the family, for the owner. So that would, to their benefit here, would indicate why the other 3 may be vacant at this time. Number one, and number 2, I don't think it certainly restricts the traffic.
Right.
You know, to their advantage. That you know that there's definitely a deed restriction on file, and that they got filed, I guess. Otherwise, they couldn't go forward here. What you have here is copies of my letter showing him how to do it. But I did have that language in there because I remember this, and probably because it's 17 and not 2005. Right. So, but the deed restriction is that the 5 houses are family. So, if you have brothers or sisters, but they may want to have one of those houses, that's all okay. So it's going to be all family.
Fine.
As far as the requirements are from the town. So there's not going to be
the Abadi compound.
right. There's not going to be strangers there and whatnot and other people. So I think that the requirement to widen the driveway or whatnot would probably moot based upon that restriction.
Okay.
And Mark, if the property is sold, that restriction is then continues.
Restriction continues. And that's why we file these things. Yeah, that's why we file them, so that
That's good.
now if somebody they could sell the whole thing, and somebody may want to come in and say we want to subdivide it or take that out, you know, and then they come back with another application. But they technically have to definitely come here or the planning board if they have a conforming subdivision.
Okay.
All right, are there any further?
Questions from the board for the planner?
I did, yeah. So given that, you referred a couple of times to standards of living space. There's multiple buildings there, right? Living quarters. One of them is larger and empty. So how does that jive with?
I don't think it's functional. Like it's a stage house, like a coach house. It wasn't. There's like living space on the second floor, but it's not really. From what I understand, it's not really livable at this moment. And the other 2 are single bedroom units.
I get that one. Yeah.
As much as you'd love to send a 7-year-old.
Yeah. So the larger one is not livable at this time, or
No, at this
not
time, it's
livable? Just that you can't live there. However.
It's not livable at this time, from what I understand. I think there's like a second floor living space, but nobody's maintained it, so it would have to be renovated.
Okay. And then, why would you build up and not out? Why does there have to be a second two-story?
Well, they do have the architect here tonight.
You want to hear about?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask the owner, but we can go back to that later, I guess.
You mean why a 2-story addition?
Yeah, two-story addition rather than.
Because the first floor portion of the addition will act as like a family room. When you come in, there's like a dining room. There's a small living area, and so it'll act more as a family room. You know, kids, toys, and everything like that. And the second floor allows them to have the 2 extra bedrooms, so they could have 3 bedrooms for the kids and then the master bedroom.
I'll probably ask the architect the same question.
So continuing out would just kind of it would be a little bit awkward.
Like a ranch home.
Pardon?
Like a ranch house, right?
Well, I think the existing bedrooms are on the second floor already.
Okay. Yeah.
And I
Got
think the intent is to have all the bedrooms on the
Okay.
same floor to have control of the kids.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions for the planner? Anyone from the audience here to be heard? Questions? Okay.
I guess I will call our architect up just to describe the house.
Yeah, I believe he's under oath from last time.
No, he wasn't.
So you never got that far.
Craftsman was here. Not
Oh,
the
okay,
architect.
good. So we'll start again.
We
That was
needed
the other
him
problem.
under oath.
Right, yeah. Okay, now I remember. Why would Rob not know this?
I'm pretty sure we marked the plan in last
They
night.
were. That's A1 from.
A1 from
Yeah.
last time, so I'm just gonna keep my second one.
Please raise your right hand.
So we can't use it for
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record.
James Watt.
Mr. Watt, you're a licensed architect of the state of New Jersey.
I am.
Did you ever appear before this board before? Okay.
Have you prepared plans for the body home that we're discussing right now?
Yes, I am.
Can you just very, very briefly describe for the board what you're looking to do? Describe the house as it exists and the expansion that you wish to make.
Okay, this is a very modestly scaled 2-story home, 2 bedrooms on the second floor, very, very small living quarters on the first floor. So it's a tiny house, but it happens to be situated. It happens to be situated on the ultimate rear property line. So the idea was to create a 2-story addition, again, very modest in scale. The footprint of the addition is only 600 square feet, but it happens on 2 floors, so that's 1,200 square feet of total addition. What it does is it provides an ample living room, which the house currently does not have, on the first floor, and 2 additional, again, modest-sized bedrooms on the second floor, 1 more bathroom, which makes it basically a functional residence for Mr. Abadi's, young family. This is a pretty spectacular piece of property for those of you who have not seen it. The carriage house, which we've described as not functional, is kind of an architectural feature on the property. The outside of it has been maintained. It's a gorgeous piece of property. There are 5 structures on it, but it is certainly within a reasonable scale for given how big it is. It is a flag lot, so it does not have any street exposure other than those 20 feet that Mr. Higgins referenced. There are 2 significant concrete brick kind of columns, markers that announce the front kind of gateway into the property. Those would be, I would say, impossible to reasonably widen. I've spent a lot of time on this property working with the Abadi family, not only in this project, but talking about other pieces. And I think given the way the driveway is laid out, I've never witnessed any problem coming in and out of the property. But in short, this is a very modestly scaled residence, tiny in its original form, modest in its proposed form, certainly much smaller than most homes that we see in Ocean Township. I grew up in Ocean Township. I've been the chairman of the planning board in Interlaken many years ago, but for 5 or 6 years. And I would say that this is one of the smaller pieces of residential architecture that you'll see in this region. So I think it's very appropriate in terms of the functional problems that it solves, We are stepping in 3.5 feet where there is currently 0.3 feet in terms of a rear yard setback. And as I have from the beginning, the inception of me working with Mr. Abadi, I think this is a very reasonable and modest approach to solve his problems.
If I just may ask, there was a question elicited, and that is about perhaps expanding on the first floor. For purposes of cost, flow of the house, design, is it preferable to build up as opposed to cost, particularly with existing bedrooms on the second floor?
For two reasons. It's from two points of view. The functional programmatic layout of the house is much better suited to a two-story addition, given the fact that the existing bedrooms are on the second floor. And given the nature of his young family, you'd want to have those bedrooms all on the same floor. Secondly, just from an architectural or zoning point of view, I think you'd end up kind of sprawling that square footage out over one floor would be an inappropriate architectural solution. Right now it is kind of, and intentionally so, very modest in nature. And I think that is a real kind of advantage to how the role that this small building plays in the overall kind of compound.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Mr. Watt, just for the record, can you show them what the second floor layout is?
Sure.
We have the plans for you.
Okay, I'm referring to A101.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Okay, so there's
Why don't you stand here so you don't block anyone?
okay. There are three proposed plans. We have a foundation plan, a first floor plan in the middle, and then to the right is a second floor plan. To the bottom of the page is the existing. I'm referring to a rectangle, which is one of two rectangles that compose what we're proposing here. The bottom rectangle is existing. It's very, very small in footprint. I think it's probably about 450 or 500 square feet. It contains currently 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. We're extending a hallway to the back proposed portion, which would have a small bedroom to the left, a little larger but still small bedroom to the rear, and a full bathroom to the right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Mr. Farber?
Mr. Chairman, I would just add that it is a modest proposal. We have addressed all the criteria of the engineer and the planner. And for his sake, with 4 kids in this tiny little house, he definitely needs a room. And I would ask for positive consideration. And thank you all for your attention.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close.
Second. Rachel, please call the roll.
Dr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
Mr. Snow?
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell?
Yes.
Action.
I'll move for positive resolution.
2 separate resolutions, one for the deed and one for the vote.
I think we can vote the whole thing as one.
Okay.
Let's just vote it as it. They already have the D. It's an expansion. It's an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use which was approved, and it's the bulk that we're granting.
Yeah,
So
basically, yeah.
one. It's still fine. One. I'll do one resolution.
Okay. Action.
Move for positive resolution.
Need a second.
That is-
Rachel, please call the roll.
Dr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
Mr. Snow?
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please see Rachel tomorrow, or call her, and she will.
Rob knows what to do, and I'll
Got it.
the resolution will be at our
Okay.
resolution at our next meeting, and I'll send it to Rob in advance.
Next case is case number 3, Daniel J. Sauer, Block 46, Lot 10, 107 Parker Avenue, Deal Park, Zone R2. This is an application to demolish an existing one-story dwelling on a non-conforming lot and construct a new two-story single-family dwelling with in-ground pool with variance for lot size under minimum, lot width under minimum, lot side and rear yard setbacks under minimum. Attorney for the applicant, Robert D. Farber.
Hello, I'm
Oh.
back. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I guess before I begin, you'll hear from your experts, but this is an application to raise a existing home and to build a new one in a non-conforming lot on a street full of non-conforming lots. The various experts have submitted their reports. We have addressed our concerns particularly with drainage, which is a huge issue in this town, and happily to the satisfaction of Mr. Fitzgerald. And before we begin, I think I'll cede to your experts.
Rachel, please mark the packet. Mr. Higgins?
Yes, I'm just trying to find my direct report here.
Tim, do you want me to put bills? Do I put bills in?
Yeah, you put bills in, yeah.
Yeah, and this, the applicant sent notices to Rachel.
I'm sorry.
The applicant sent notices to the surrounding property, to adjacent property owners.
Yeah.
We did this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, okay, but I've seen them, and they're satisfactory. To the board's information, we're dealing with an undersized lot. Once you demolish the building, it becomes an undersized lot.
Right.
So as part of the requirements of an undersized lot, you need to advise the adjacent property owners that they can either sell a portion of theirs,
Right.
to make ours bigger, if they can,
Right.
or if they want to buy this lot, to expand their lot, not to develop it, for fair market value, which would eliminate the requirement for a variance. That was done by Mr. Farber. I've seen those letters. Okay, Rachel just didn't give it to you.
Yes.
So that was satisfied.
Okay.
The adjacent neighbors are certainly not interested.
Nobody's buying, nobody's selling, all right?
Right.
No,
Good.
you wouldn't expect that.
Well,
Okay.
you never know. We've had it once. But so that criteria was satisfied. It wasn't in the packet. So that's why.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
You're pregnant.
You have excuses.
Mr. Farber, the floor is yours. Oh, no, the
No.
floor is Mr.
Yeah.
Higgins.
I'm going to put Mr. Fitzgerald's in. He's not here. We have his report.
We'll do Jim's
Oh, we do?
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do Jim's first.
You know, I can do bills first.
It's easy.
Don't argue over it, just somebody read the report.
Okay. The revised stormwater management plan is acceptable and will benefit the neighborhood. It's his opinion that the engineering justification for the variance has been met. A stormwater maintenance operation and maintenance manual, including execution of the township's easement and escrow agreement, is required. And beyond that, there are no substantive issues with the application.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
And I'll read mine because it'll be quicker to read it than summarize.
Okay.
The applicant is requesting to demolish an existing residence and construct a new residence, pool surround, and pool equipment. Revised plans have been submitted, and this report supersedes my report of December 11th. The site is 100 by 185 lot with an existing residence. The lot site is undersized for the zone with regard to lot width, 125 required, 100 exists, and lot area, 22,500 square feet required, 18,500 square feet exists. Several other non-conforming conditions exist, including the side yard setback, 10 feet required, 9.7 exists, and the setback of an accessory structure, 10 feet required, approximately 3 feet exists. Both of these non-conformities will be eliminated. A variance is necessary for construction of a dwelling on a lot with non-conforming lot area and lot width. I have no significant problem with these variances. However, the board may want to consider requiring the applicant to provide proof that he could not acquire additional property to make the site conforming or sell the property to adjacent property owners.
Which has been done.
Yes. Variances are also necessary for side and rear yard setbacks of the pool equipment. The ordinance requires 10-foot side rear yard setbacks. The plan shows what appears to be a concrete slab with a side setback of 1 foot and a rear setback of 4 feet. No details are provided for the slab or equipment to be located on the slab. Given the lack of details, it's not possible to assess the impact of the pool equipment. However, it also appears that there is no valid positive planning reason for the granting of these variances. The applicant should provide testimony as to the positive reasons, and details of the pool equipment should be provided. The variance is also necessary for a change in grade of more than 2 feet at the northwest corner of the site of the house. I don't have a problem with that as long as Bill doesn't have any engineering problems, and apparently he doesn't.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think most of your questions are going to be regarding engineering, but before we do that, I just would like the architect to briefly describe the home that's being constructed.
Please.
And that would be Mr. David Feldman, who is a licensed architect of the state of New Jersey. Have you ever appeared before this board? I have. Okay, so we need to be sworn in. Come back and let them swear you in.
Mr. Feldman, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, please state your name and address.
David Feldman, 1670 Route 34, Wall Township, New Jersey.
You have to use,
you're a licensed architect of the state of New Jersey.
I am.
and you've testified before here?
I
I remember. Yep. Okay.
David,
Accept your credentials.
just really briefly, can you describe the home that's being proposed with board?
Yes.
Can I
Ba-
just interrupt first? Can you turn the microphone?
oh.
And this set of plans, I'll mark it in, you can refer to it, and I have my own. If you can confirm it, please, I'll mark this one in.
September 26, 2018, not 1918.
Upper right
Oh, I
corner.
found it. Okay, I'm gonna mark these as A1. That way you can take that one.
This is A1, it's just mounted to
Okay.
it. And you'll just refer to the sheet.
That's fine. So what we submitted was four sheets, P1 through P4. P1 being elevations of the front and left. P2 being elevations of the rear and right. P3 being the first floor plan, and P4 being the second floor plan. Basically, it's a two-story home of roughly 58, just under 5,800 square feet. 2 stories with consisting of 8 bedrooms. The first floor will have a living room, dining room, den, kitchen area, as well as a master bedroom on the first floor. The second floor will consist of 7 bedrooms with some bathrooms, some private, and some shared. The home is going to consist of a stucco material on the exterior with a stone water table, and will also have a basement.
Okay, any questions for the architect?
Is there a garage there?
There is not.
Any questions from the board, the architect? Okay, seeing that there's no questions.
Alrighty. Mr. Chairman, we would next like to call Mr. William Hopkins as an expert. He is an engineer, licensed engineer of the state of New Jersey.
Mr. Hopkins, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
State your name and address.
Sure. Walter Hopkin, 2517 State Highway 35, Manasquan, New Jersey.
And you're a...
I'm a licensed, my Bachelor of Science from Drexel University. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the states of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. I'm a licensed professional planner also in the state of New Jersey.
You testified here before?
I have had the pleasure before the zoning board and also your planning board.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, briefly, just to situate the board and your professionals to the property, it's an existing 18,500 square foot site. It's on the south side of Parker between Holly and Washington. It's block 46, lot 10, also known as 107 Parker, and it's located in your R2 zone. The proposed use, of course, is permitted, and all the surrounding uses and lots are similar in nature. In fact, on this block, most of the lots are this size or smaller and have this size frontage or less. What exists there now is approximately 2,900 square foot single-family home on 1 story. What's being proposed, you've heard testified by Mr. Feldman. In addition, there'll be a pool, an in-ground pool in the back, a 20 by 48, 20 foot by 48 foot pool. And all of these proposed dimensions meet your bulk requirements. We are cleaning up, as Mr. Higgins indicated, a few minor variances that exist with the existing structure, so nothing proposed would violate your ordinance. There is a stormwater management system. We did meet or spoke with Mr. Fitzgerald over the phone, received input on our original submission to propose a stormwater management system, which actually addresses the 100-year storm, is what Mr. Fitzgerald had us address with this system. There are swales along the property line to make sure that any runoff does not impact the adjacent properties. There are 2 new street trees that are proposed along Parker, and there, of course, will be a fence around the rear yard and the pool. That's it as far as what's proposed. I can answer any questions or go into the justifications for the variances.
I think
I just noticed something, and I probably should have asked the architect, but I just want to bring this up. There is no garage. Driveway's only 12 foot wide.
Yeah, that I was just going to get into that.
Can we seriously think about it? It's only 12 foot and there's no garage. You can't stack car. You can't get too wide in there. You can't. There's not enough
The
room for
problem
automobiles.
is, and I submarined an attorney on a later application tonight this afternoon with the same issue,
Right.
and I didn't realize it on this one. There's about 8 bedrooms in this house.
Right.
The residential site improvement standards, which are state regulations for the board's edification that supersede the township's zoning, require that if you have 5 or more bedrooms, you have to have at least 3 parking spaces on the site. And so the parking's going to have to be revised to provide at least 3 parking spaces.
Mr. Chairman, we hear what Mr. Higgins said, and I just got the nice wink from Mr. Hopkins. We can definitely, if the board moves favorably upon this, and staying within coverage issues and all,
Right.
we can expand the driveway to afford a minimum of 3 parking spaces.
I think we have to.
Yes.
It's not a problem.
Okay.
Currently, it would allow for 3 stacked. There's also 3 allowed along the frontage as well, but
Right.
we could widen it
Well,
so that.
they have to be on site. They can't be on the frontage.
And the problem
just for the
And
boards.
they really, you could have, the way I interpret the residential site improvement standards, you couldn't have 3 stacked. You'd have to have it wide enough so you'd have at least 2, and then 2 of those could be stacked.
Yeah, we can widen the whole. Instead of 12, we can go to 20 feet, still remain
Yes,
under your
yes.
coverage, and it'll be 55 feet long.
Yeah, it would be better because you can't stack them in 12 foot. You
After
gotta
hearing
back 'em out and
your
pull 'em in and
concerns
back
with the
'em out.
last
Yeah.
application, I was sketching it out.
Yes,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we hear, Mr. Higgins, we hear your concerns. We will
Okay.
address them if we
All right,
are.
one other thing, the pool equipment looks like it's
We're gonna relocate that to an area that's acceptable to your professionals and does not require variance.
okay. I'm done. Any other questions from the board? Perfect. Questions from the board?
So we're gonna so the concrete slab is gone, right?
It'll be-
No, it'll be relocated acceptable to your professionals and within your that will meet your.
So it'll be
vault
relocated to eliminate a variance.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Just, Mr. Chairman, to address something, Mr. Hopkins is also a licensed planner.
Right.
And there were some planning concerns that I would like him to address, and he's prepared to do so.
Okay.
You read the letter from Mr. Higgins, and if you could just address his concerns regarding the planning issues.
Well, I think his major concern was the pool equipment, which we've agreed to eliminate.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's anything else that you'd like me to address other than the proofs for the existing variances, which is really what it boils
Well, I don't
down.
think there's, testimony on the record, you can't expand it, you can't sell it, so I think there's a hardship there.
I believe it's a hardship, otherwise the property's undevelopable. It advances the purposes of the municipal land use law, adequate light, air, and open spaces. The project still will be below your maximum impervious. The township will receive a stormwater management system to deal with the runoff, as well as 2 new street trees. Can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impair the intent and the purpose of the zone planning zoning ordinance.
Okay.
I like that, thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Please come up, state your name. You have to speak into the microphone.
I'm Maury Marks. I own 110 Running Avenue,
Okay.
adjacent to this property.
Okay.
I'm concerned about flooding and the high water table that now exists, and that I would have problem with flooding.
Well, sir, they're going to have a complete stormwater management plan to show that the water will not impede on you at all or anyone else, and they have to do that before they can start construction.
Well, Henry, I think in fact Mr. Fitzgerald's report said that it would benefit the entire area and not just the property as well. So I think their plan is intended to help you more than you have now. That's what the engineering says.
Yeah, well, I was concerned because I know the water table.
You should be concerned, yeah.
And it's pretty high.
Right, so Mr. Fitzgerald's report, as read by Mr. Kirk, basically states that the revised plan is acceptable and will benefit the neighborhood. So it's going to have beneficial impacts off the property as well, and that's our engineer and his review, so he's pretty spot on usually. I just want to give you that benefit because you didn't hear it.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Any other questions from the audience? Any other questions from the board? Does that conclude your case?
I believe it does, Mr. Chairman, and I would ask that you consider the fact that, bless you, it's a non-conforming lot. The neighbors do not want to assist in purchasing or selling. It is an improvement in the water issue, which is a great concern in this town, and it fits within, it's basically conforming in the sense that other than it's a non-conforming lot, setbacks, bulk, variances, I think it's all there. So we would ask that, given the hardship that exists because it's undersized, that you look upon this application favorably. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
I move. Or second.
Rachel, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Ms. Levine.
Yes.
Mr. Malta.
Yes.
Mr. Shepard.
Yes.
Mr. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner.
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell.
Yes.
Action.
I move for a positive resolution with the condition that the driveway be reconfigured to account for the driveway and that the pool equipment be relocated satisfactory to the engineer, the professionals, so that it eliminates the need for the variance.
That would be the bill. Second that.
Rachel, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Affect drainage.
Yes. Mr. Malta.
Yes.
Mr. Shepard.
Yes.
Mr. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Wagner.
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell.
Yes.
Thank you. Please call Rachel tomorrow.
I will see Rachel tomorrow, and Mr. Chairman, and the board,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
It's
you very
nice
much.
About 1,000 foot page. Have a good evening, everyone.
Next case is case number 4209 Highwood Road LLC, block 25.22, lot 5, 209 Highwood Road, Oakhurst, zone R4. This is an application to construct a second-story addition with variance for, variances for front yard, rear yard, and rear yard setbacks under minimum, and keep a paver patio with variances for side and rear yard setbacks under minimum. Attorney for the applicant, Lois D. Sutton, Esquire. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, Board. I represent Mr. Sanka. Do you want me to put him on the record, or would the professionals like to speak?
Well, I would,
What was the question?
first, Rachel, you want to mark the packet?
Yes.
Okay. And who, Bill, who's going to read Bill's report?
Bill has no substantive engineering issues at all.
Okay, Mr. Higgins.
Planning, I'll summarize. I did 2 reports, and again, I apologize to the applicant and his attorney because I submarined them this afternoon. The application requires variances for front yard setback, 30 feet is required, 24.7 exists and is proposed. They're going vertically, adding a second story on the building. So when you're doing that, you're increasing the magnitude of the impact of the setback, so you have to look at those setback variances again.
Right.
The minimum rear yard setback, 30 feet is required, 11.6 feet exists and is proposed. And then there's a patio on what's technically the side of the building, but it's really functionally the rear of the building, is setback 3 feet on the rear and 6 feet on the side, and it requires a 10-foot setback. I don't have a problem regarding the front and rear yard setback variances. The way the lot's configured, it's an undersized lot, both in terms of area and in terms of lot width. And the way the house is configured on it, the ordinance defines the front yard as, the rear yard as the yard that's opposite the front of the house. And so the rear yard is only 11 feet wide because it's opposite, the front of the house faces Highwood, which that's the narrower portion of the lot. If the front of the house were to face Wells, which is on the other side, on the other street frontage, the house would conform. With regard to the patio, again, I think we just need testimony as to why the patio should remain that way. There is enough room that they could have an adequate patio with 10-foot setbacks on each side, but it may very well be that what's there is appropriate. The other issue is that they're putting a second-story addition on the building. There's going to be 4 bedrooms on the second story. There's an existing 5th bedroom down in the basement. That 5th bedroom also has direct access to the outside. So the zoning officer raised a question as to whether or not that could possibly be used as a separate residence. And I made a comment that it should be, if it's allowed to exist, it should be readily accessible to the balance of the building. And then today I was looking at it and realized that I had missed the fact that they're going from 4 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms. That requires, as we discussed on the prior application, 3 parking spaces. There's only 2 parking spaces on the site. And those 2 parking spaces actually back out. Freehold Road runs perpendicular to Highwood and intersects Highwood at the point where the driveway and the parking spaces exist on this lot. And I was concerned that if you increase the demand for parking on the site, there's going to be more parking on Highwood than there would otherwise be. And if somebody comes out of Freehold and makes a left and then has to make an immediate right onto Wells, that could be a situation that could be hazardous. So I was concerned about that. I suggested that maybe it should be limited to 4 bedrooms and not 5 bedrooms, and maybe that bedroom in the basement, well, I don't think I said that in my report, but maybe the bedrooms in the basement could become a den or something like that rather than a bedroom. And then they wouldn't be increasing the number of bedrooms. But that's my main concern with this, is that there's just not adequate on-site parking. I don't see how they can make adequate on-site parking.
How wide is that driveway now?
It appears to be about 20 feet wide.
Okay.
If you look at, is the survey marked in? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's about 18 feet wide, just
Okay.
looking at it.
So increasing it by 2 foot is not going to give you what you need anyway.
Well, if you look, I'm sorry, if you look at the survey, the width is 126.09. And if you look towards the rear where the paver patio is, it's 22.4. And if you look down, that is pretty much the width.
Well, it starts out a little bit narrower.
It starts out, but
it starts out narrower.
increases
And
very
then,
quickly. I do have, if you want to mark into evidence, a picture of the site. If you'd like to review that. And I also have 2 other
Please tell us what that picture is.
Okay. That's a picture that I took today. It's a picture of the existing driveway with 3 vehicles parked, showing that there's enough width and there's enough length for, as was mentioned before, 2 across and 1 stacked, which will conform to New Jersey. It will conform to the RSIS 5:21-4.14.
I guess there's a couple questions there. One I don't have a major concern about, but the ordinance requires parking spaces to be 9 feet wide by 18 feet long, and whether those 3 would meet that requirement. And I don't have a major concern about that. The other concern I would have is the 3rd car actually parked over the property line into the right of way, and without having looking at the, I don't know if even looking at the picture I could tell that. It looks like.
Why don't we have a look at them first?
Yeah, why don't you pass the pictures around after they're marked to the board?
Is this a different picture?
Yeah, this is my picture. What is the picture that you marked?
I've been passing it.
Oh, okay. It is being passed around.
So you're gonna mark
I'm
the
not
dr-
sure I understand the comment about the width and about the
Okay, well,
about
first
the
of all,
line, the
that's,
property line.
you want to mark that as A3, which is a picture of the driveway with 3 cars in it today.
Correct.
That's what it is. I think that they're just not sure whether or not that 3rd car is over the property line, because your survey shows a substantial difference between the street basically and the property line. Looks about 5 or 6, maybe wider.
Well, this issue was raised as we say, at the last moment.
I know.
Yes.
We did not have an opportunity to give all the measurements. I went over and I took this picture just to show. I believe that it does.
All right, since mark it.
Is it
It's marked.
It is marked.
Are there
It's up to you
We
now.
marked it.
are there 3 cars or is that 2 cars in a trailer?
Looks like 2 cars in a trailer right now.
Correct. Again,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trailer is substituting for a car. I went there at 4 o'clock to take this picture. I did not have time to move all the cars. I believe it's the same width. If you could see, it's the same width. It's the same
Well,
width as my car.
unfortunately, I'm going to defer to my professional, but I can't tell whether it's in the right of way or
It
not.
appears to me it is in the right of way. I can't be certain,
okay,
but
so-
it appears to be.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, and Mark and Jim. I mean, RSIS is a state
State
standard. Does that
standard.
supersede the
That's
municipal?
correct.
Right, but they can also ask for a de minimis exception.
Exception, yeah.
Okay.
You can
That's
ask
what I'm
for
saying. How do we?
exceptions to that,
How do
Well,
we? I'm not. I'm just for all of our sake. How do
Well,
we
I can't
handle
address
that?
that, but I prefer the engineer to address that first. I do have the statute here, and if you'd like me to address it, I'd be happy
Go ahead.
to.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so 4:21-4.14A talks about an adequate number of on-street and off-street. It's up to the board and the professionals can either say that there's conformity because of on-site, but they can also use off-site if they need to, and I believe that there's a concern about that, and I'd like to address that. The concern in the report is that there's not enough frontage on Highwood to enable to park the cars, and perhaps on the survey it appears that way, but if you look at the survey again, the frontage of the survey is 126.9 feet. If you subtract the width of the driveway, and we'll subtract either between 18 and 25 feet, that leaves 100 feet. 100 feet parks at least 4 cars. I'd like to mark these 2 pictures into evidence.
Please explain.
That's not my concern. My concern is you have freehold road that runs directly into Highwood. People will be making a left-hand turn and then an immediate right-hand turn on Wells. And my concern is there's not enough space there to make that a safe movement, particularly if somebody is making that left-hand turn and somebody parked in that location opens their car door at the last minute.
Let me just.
Oh, okay, because I do,
See,
I
this,
can
let me
address
see.
that.
Yeah.
If you go with de minimis deviation, and she's saying that you can use some off-site space, would we not? Would we not? No. Would we not include the differential between the end of the property line and the street as off-street? She can get 3 cars in that driveway. Part of it is being
It's off, yeah, it's
in the
offsite.
right of way, but you're allowed to satisfy some of that with it being in the right of way. We can't control anybody from parking on Highwood or not.
That's which is true.
Which is true, but let's eliminate that. I know what you're saying. You can probably park there. He's saying it's dangerous, but you're also saying you can park at least 3, maybe 4 cars in that driveway.
I agree, and
But
also.
but part of that driveway,
Yes.
as it exists,
Mhm.
is in the right of way. So that that you could make an argument for that differential in the right of way is de minimis exception to Teresa's, because that is off site. Yet anybody coming around is not going to hit that car because it's in a driveway.
I would think that the 3 cars in the driveway would be much better than making an argument for the street.
Yeah, I mean the basis we want to decide upon should be erring on the side of safety, which if our professional says it's not safe and you have another option for de minimis angle here, it might be that.
Yeah, I would think that it looks like 6-7 feet between the end of your property at least to the street.
Actually,
I can't scale it. but-
again, it was raised at the last minute. There is room between the cars in the back. There's ample room to move all the cars up. This car can be moved over, so it's not in the other property line.
I think
Okay.
they have enough,
Yeah.
from my view.
My suggestion is, first of all, there's about 42 feet from the end of the driveway to the street line.
Okay.
So if you say there's an 18-foot long parking space, then 36 feet would be two cars. And that would extend them out into the right of way to a certain distance, but they'd still be about 6 feet away from the from the curb line. The other issue is the width of the parking, and when you get up towards the street, it's definitely less than the 18 feet that would be required for two. I'd say widen the driveway so that it's 20 feet the whole width. Because it's about 20 feet at its far end, but closer to the road it narrows down considerably.
Okay, so would we be amenable to widen the driveway to 20
They
feet?
can only widen what's on their property.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But they could widen it to 20 feet and still have the 5 foot required along the property line.
Okay.
Not that part. They can't change the curb cut though.
Oh, that's true.
But if they widen the part
true.
between where it bends in by where it says wood tie.
Right.
Well, just looking.
Just let me ask Mark a question there. If somebody were building a new house on this lot, and they wanted to put in a 20-foot wide driveway
For a new curb cut.
for a new curb cut, the board could approve that. Could the board approve a new curb cut with this application to be 20 feet wide?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't. You may want to get all these dimensions to come back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm saying. So maybe you don't have to do that.
I appreciate that. we really would like an approval tonight. We would like to do whatever is necessary within reason to satisfy.
This house has been sitting there with wood siding and
unsheathed
no protection
for years.
Yeah.
Long time.
Right.
So
sheathed.
So, are you suggesting that we should widen and curb cut to 20 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
May I suggest that if that's approved, we would be happy to work with the planner and the engineer in order to
widen
that, and it could be put in the resolution that it is subject or conditioned to their approval, so that we wouldn't have to come back to another meeting.
All right. That's fine. Let's go to phase 2 now. Is there? You talked about access from the basement. Is there access to?
Flares. It's not. Curb cut's not 20 feet. It's a flare. I don't know what the.
What do you mean?
When you do a curb cut, you don't do 20 feet wide and then.
Yeah, you could. If for residential, you could. Yeah.
All right, so you want a 20-foot wide.
I would say widen it, subject to Bill's approval.
Okay.
To make a 20-foot driveway.
Better,
We'll call it
better
that.
put, yeah.
To make a 20-foot wide
Wide
driveway.
Clarify for the sake of the applicant. So where the driveway starts smaller, you want to straighten it out.
That's correct. That's essentially the.
If it's 20 feet across on top,
it should be 20 feet.
And what do you mean by a curb cut?
Okay, the curb cut down here on High Road is not doesn't have to be required to be 20 feet wide. A curb cut isn't as wide as the driveway, is it? Usually flares.
It depends. Some residential uses, a lot of times it is.
Okay.
But I think that would be subject to the approval of the board engineer.
Okay.
The width of that.
We want to make it a residential 20-foot wide driveway and subject to our engineer's specs.
Curb cut means you have the curb at the street line, and it's where that curb is cut. So it could be 20, it could be 22 feet. Right.
Mrs. Acker, do you have a problem with that?
Do I need to?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Has he been sworn in?
No, not yet.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Raymond Thacker, 4 Clark Court, Oakhurst, New Jersey.
Okay.
Mrs. Thacker, the applicant is 209 Highwood Road, LLC.
Yeah.
What is your relationship to the applicant?
I'm one of the managing members.
And are you authorized to speak on their behalf and to accept any resolutions or approvals on their behalf?
Yes.
Shall I run it through the application even though we did a good job? Okay. Okay, Mr. Sacco.
Yeah.
You're applying to construct a second-story addition on existing one-story residence, is that correct?
Yes.
And you are requesting relief from the minimum front yard setback requirement of 30 feet because there's a hardship due to the narrow width of the lot.
Yes.
You're also requesting relief from the rear yard setback requirement of 30 feet because of the rear yard. However, as it was explained in the report, it's technically the rear yard because it faces the front yard, but the side yard on Wells will be used as the backyard space. Is that correct?
Yes.
will you be expanding the footprint of the property with this improvement?
No.
Is only a vertical expansion?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A comment has
Yes.
been raised about the paver patio, and I know that you reviewed the report, and I understand that you are now willing to either have it conform or to remove the patio altogether. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Will that satisfy the comment
There's definitely, very definitely.
Which one?
about the paver
No,
patio?
no. Is he going to remove it or is he going to modify it?
Whatever is required.
I have no problem with just modifying it to conform.
Which would be the rear yard setback?
Rear and, this is the side actually, the side yard setback and the rear yard setback.
We can't make the rear.
What? Yeah. Yes, you can. It has to be 10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet on each side.
Oh, because it's a
Yeah.
patio.
Yes, because it's
Okay.
a patio.
So you're going to modify the patio so it's 10 feet rear and 10 feet side.
I just want to make sure I understand. So there's concrete there now, so we're going to put grass or something? We're going to cut
Yes.
the concrete?
It's not concrete, it's a paver patio.
Paver.
It's like pavers.
It's pavers, so you
Okay.
just pull the pavers out and put
So-
grass there, yes.
So we're going to remove 10 feet from the back and 10
No,
feet?
not 10 feet.
10 feet.
What,
Remove-
up to 10 feet.
Move
So that
6
it's got to
feet.
be
You
pulled
have-
back.
You have to make it so that whatever is there. you
Right,
add.
but at the end of the day, there should be 10 feet
10
no,
feet,
no
yes.
pavers and 10 feet no
Correct.
pavers.
That's
From
correct.
the side
Yeah.
to the back, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But the rest can remain.
Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That eliminates that variance.
Mhm.
Okay. You got
Oh, we did address the issue with the
driveway.
Right, so so the way I understand it, because I overheard a little, so the cut of the driveway is wider than the actual driveway, so we're just going to expand the driveway to wherever that cut is.
No, you have to put a new curb cut
Put
in.
a new curb cut in, yeah.
Another new curb cut in.
Also, the curb cut right now is not wide enough?
That's correct.
Correct.
The driveway,
Really narrows.
at the end of the driveway, it
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
be about
yeah,
20 feet wide. And you see how it tapers, it gets shorter?
Yeah, so
So we
we're
want
gonna-
it to be 20 feet wide all the way out to the street.
Oh, I thought you were
Right.
saying the cut stays the same and then flares.
That's what I
And then
thought.
you really can't get 4 cars or 3 cars in there.
So could I just draw a line and show you if this is, just so we understand? So
You'll be working that out with the engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You must understand it before you agree to it.
So basically you want us to straighten it there?
Essentially all the way out to the street, and it
Oh, the
may,
street
it
is-
may flare a little bit out at the street, depending on what the engineer wants.
So the architect, you work with the architect to make sure that gets done?
Yes, of course.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Good.
Not a lot of money, right?
The final issue that's been raised is the basement. The zoning officer has raised that concern, and the concern has been raised here. Mr. Saka, is there any intention or any desire to use the basement as a separate residence?
No, absolutely not. It's a one family.
Well, can you access the basement from the main house? Is there a staircase?
Inside.
From inside?
Can you
Access the basement from the inside? Of course.
Yes, of course.
We're going to reconvert the steps.
Shall I refer to the plan? I could mark it down.
There are steps from the
Okay.
first floor down to the
Okay.
basement.
And but there's an exit
To the outside.
to the
directly.
outside from there. Okay.
Which, for safety reasons, is probably necessary.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
But other people have access to outside of their basement too. You know. Okay.
Okay, so is the concern met?
What?
Is the concern met about using as a residence?
As long as there's access from the main house to
Yeah,
the
the board has to be
basement.
satisfied.
Correct.
And,
It was suggested that it be put in the resolution that it's conditioned on it not being used as a separate residence, and we are agreeable to that as well.
okay. That's fine too. Well, now that we settled everything. Any questions from the board? None?
Mr. Saga, is this your primary residence? Or is this a investment property?
Investment property.
And that'll be rented out to someone year-round? A year-round tenant or a summer tenant and then a winter tenant?
No, our intents are to bring all year-round residents to the neighborhood. We've been very active in that.
Okay. I was also interested in the architectural design.
Sure.
The style that you proposed is pretty... It stands out in the entire neighborhood. It's not very fitting to the neighborhood. Is it something that you're...
It was actually my architect's idea, as Mr. Higgins pointed out, Freehold, I envision the area as the Brookside community and the Whale Pond community, the two sides, and Highwood connects it. So Freehold, this is like almost the entranceway to the Brookside community, and there is a lot of construction going on in the neighborhood. A lot of beautiful homes are being built. We plan to build a lot more beautiful homes, and this would be a beautiful way as an entryway, because this is the house that invites the whole neighborhood. So it actually,
I understand your
this is
concept.
our intent.
And is the sheathing has been exposed for months now?
Unfortunately,
are you guys
yes.
concerned about the structural integrity of the building?
We have a competent.
Are you
the
raising the
builder.
first floor and building on top of the foundation, or you're keeping the main structure intact and building above?
I don't know how the builder builds it, but he either takes down the walls or builds on top. Whatever the laws are, they comply to all the laws.
There's an existing first floor structure that's still there.
Right, it's been exposed to the weather for months now. It just doesn't seem
Mr. Snow,
structurally
they would
sound.
have to have an architect to
Explain
certify the
that.
entire
Right.
thing and get Uniform Construction Code building permits. So they would have to either take the sheathing off or have it certified.
Right, but that would be part of the permit process.
Whatever needs to comply will comply.
Got you, sir.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions from the board? Anyone here from the public to be heard? Yes, sir. Come on up. Use the microphone. State your name and address.
My name is Chris Richter. I live at 196 Highwood Road, which is across the street from the property that there's the Highwood, yes.
Yes, sir.
So I've been in the neighborhood for
Into the microphone.
20 years. I just want to, the neighborhood's changing, as you know. I can see the hardship with the setback being where it is. If you were going to move in, it's strictly for commerce or profit. So for 20 years I've been there, and the neighborhood's changing. The setbacks are not compliant, and we're awarding that.
I just want to stop you for a minute. I had to swear you in. I didn't do that. Can you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. So what I'm worried about is the impact on the value of the neighborhood for the people that have been there. So I'm happy to hear that you're comfortable in the neighborhood and you want to be the gateway to the community. But for 20 years we've been in the community, and for someone to come in and want to develop it for profit and disregard the people that have been there for 20 years. I also know that, like Mr. Snow said, that you've had the plywood off for 6 months, because I live there and I drive directly into the gateway to the community. You also have a project going on across the street 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. A lot of work there. You also have work going on Wells. I'm assuming you're the same owner, I've been told.
Okay. So,
I'm not sure. I want to make sure the project's finished. I've been living in a work
you want to
zone.
make sure the project what?
Gets finished.
Okay.
I've been living in a work zone, literally across the
Yeah,
street
sound like
over there.
the,
They took a carport down. The yard's full of garbage. I mean, it's
this-
definitely not nice
this
to
board-
live in now.
Okay. Unfortunately, up to the microphone. Unfortunately, this board does not have control over that. If they are in violation, if the building is not being maintained, or there's other code enforcement requirements, that's the code department.
No, I understand
This
what
board can't make him do that.
No, what really what I'm asking is the consideration of the board take into consideration that the owner isn't moving in. There's no hardship. We have 4 kids.
Okay, but hardship is not the occupant.
So
okay? It doesn't make any difference if they want to own it, rent it, or flip
No,
it.
I can-
okay,
I can appreciate
for this board's purposes, the hardship is the shape and layout and design of the property itself, the existing lot.
Right.
And they can't do much else with it.
Right.
They're bringing it, believe it or not, more in conformance than it is now. They're getting a wider driveway, and they're going to get more off-street parking. They're going to move the patio so it's doesn't meet the.
I'm not against. I'm not
meets the
against
setbacks.
it.
We just can't control what he does with it.
No, I'm not trying to control anyone. He's free to do what he wants. I'm just saying that the consideration of you know, I hear everyone in here saying, well, my family have 3 young children. We like to put another bedroom. This is to rent and to make money. So I mean, right now you're non-compliant.
Yeah,
So-
let me just tell you. That's not why the board granted the last one, because
Yeah, I think,
that's
Mark,
not.
that's important to note, right? Because
No,
I think it's very confusing that when
I know, they
folks
said it,
come
I know,
in,
the
this is
last
a hardship
applicant-
that they have children. We can't. That's not actually.
Yeah,
we
we
can't
don't
take
consider
that.
that's not considered, and the board is aware of that. They just don't comment on it. But a hardship under the law is not a hardship for the person who lives in there. The hardship has to run with the land. In this case, it's long and narrow. It's an existing building. And there's kind of no way of reorienting the building and meeting all the setback requirements. That's the hardship. The last one that you heard where the gentleman was going to expand the size of his family and get too close to the rear yard line, he says because he needs the space. The hardship there was that it's an existing building already and it was already close to the line. So but it's not, the board cannot consider a personal hardship as what we call the legal reasons under under law for purposes of
You
granting a
would
variance.
take into consideration the way
Well-
the redevelopment the neighborhood's going, based on your decision for a variance.
Well, can I
That's
say,
all.
I think, I mean, I respect your opinion. I mean, people have neighborhoods, and when you have a commercial enterprise coming in, it feels like, well, you know, you should be held to a different standard. As Mark said, we can't do, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it, but we can't take into consideration surrounding, I mean, this application stands just on its own, only this application, but we can consider neighbors' concerns, and you've been living across from this for a while. Are there things that, you know, aspects of the application that you want to comment on? I mean,
I don't object to them doing the work that they're entitled to do.
I mean, if they were going to live in there, you wouldn't have.
Well, no, I mean, it would be more understandable. I actually have a small lot which is similar to size of his, but I was not conforming on my side setback. But as a courtesy to my neighbor who had been there 20 years prior to me, I actually started my second floor in within my setbacks, my side yard setback, because I'm non-conforming as well.
Let me ask you, what about some sort of time limitations on the construction here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get to your point.
I mean, I don't like.
You want investment in the
they're
neighborhood.
entitled to do whatever they're entitled to do, and I don't object to that. That's the law.
You want
That's
to
how
see
it
it
works.
finished.
I would like to knock them home. I've literally been 3
Well, that's what I
homes
get
have been
to.
under
What- yeah.
construction for
When do you think
6
you can?
months.
When do you think this can be finished by?
Can I speak to that? And then
Sure.
Okay. So we're ready to put shovel in the ground as soon as the permits are approved.
Okay, well that's going to take 2 months,
It will take
a
2
minimum. No, well, you're not going to get a resolution for a month, and I don't know when you're going to put in your construction plans.
Well-
I would assume a minimum of 2 months. And that's probably good.
Also incorporating the changes that they need to submit for the driveway.
So maybe 3 months. Okay, so now we're into May.
Well, 3 months.
April. Maybe should be 2 months old by then.
But I mean, I just want. I mean, he wants an investment in the community the way he invests in the
You're gonna be
community
able
in
to
his
complete
neighborhood.
it.
So
I would think.
Can I speak to that? Excuse me. Do you mind if I speak to that? So I really appreciate the concern, and Mr. Saka is trying to take properties and turn them into, instead of summer rental and winter rental properties, almost all of his properties are geared to year-round rentals and geared to the renters purchasing the properties. And this particular property is a rundown property. It was an eyesore, and it's going to be improved. And Mr. Saka is more interested than anyone else in having the projects completed on time. If you could do a special meeting and get the resolution in, he would pull permits and get the shovel in the ground. He would like to be done by the end of June.
Would you like to pay for that? I think what we charge.
Yes, he would actually.
What do we charge for a special meeting?
He would actually. We did request him.
Okay, but the answer is that getting the resolution within 4 weeks is not going to make a difference because he can start his plans right now.
Right.
Yeah, we
So-
are doing that. We are
Okay.
doing that.
Can you conclude this in 1 year?
If the board allows a reasonable time, we could.
1 year.
from start-
I would suggest 1 year.
I don't see. I just would like to know
Yeah.
why we
What?
have the time.
It's a long time, no, like 1 year for.
He's not going to be able to get. He's not going to wind up with approvals for 3 months. He's got to come in. He's got to show us the driveway. They got to, you know, it's. I would think.
And the building permit is only valid for 1 year. It has to be renewed. So.
I understand that, but I mean, you know, there's always opportunities to come back.
Sounds like a long time, but
yeah, a year
it really
sounds
isn't.
still
I mean, it's 3 months to get the permits.
Is that right?
And-
Wait for about 3 months
Is
by the
there
time he
any
does
way to
everything?
expedite that for this gentleman's sake?
I would say it's reasonable to say within 3 months that they would have permits.
Okay, so after you have permits in 3 months, how long can you finish it before the winter starts?
I wanted to finish it
What
by
would be
June,
the
but
consequence
it's
to not
impossible.
finishing
I
it
guess
on
the
time?
variances would lapse and you have to come back here.
Well, I just would like to address that. I appreciate the gentleman's concern, I truly do. But unless you have put timelines on all the other projects, I'm not sure who's doing all the other projects.
We've put timelines on projects before.
Is it less
Yeah.
than a year?
Yes.
Oh, so it depends on the project.
Depends on the project, really. I mean, this is a single-family house, and most of the structure is there. It's widening the driveway and putting a second floor on.
Well, I know that we're interested in doing it quickly, but we would need time frame from the time that shovel could be in the ground.
Well, I think that's why we said we could pretty much. It looks like all the permits will be in 3 months. How long after that? We're asking you. How long after you have the permits?
I would say
how much longer?
Say 4 months.
No, 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months after.
I'm saying
Yeah, so a
one
year from now.
I would say
it's
1 year.
It's 1 year.
1 year. That's why I said a year.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
started with a year.
Well, I mean, listen. The bottom line is, you don't want. If we deny the variance, they're not going to go forward with the project, and you're living with that across the street.
No,
Anyway.
I don't want them to not move forward the project.
And I wanna make sure of that.
That's they own the property.
But if we
I
put in,
understand. We want to make sure.
I was very happy to hear that they're doing annual rentals to keep the property value where it's at and not
Okay.
decrease. You know, a lot of people in the neighborhood are counting on that to retire.
but if we
Gotcha.
put the
Okay.
impetus
You know,
of
All
a
right.
deadline, I think it makes the applicant proceed a little quicker so that he meets that deadline.
Is
He
there any
doesn't
way
have to
that-
come back to us and ask for extensions and whatnot.
Is there any way that we could maybe paint the plywood to make it look like, you know, it has been that way for 6 months, and you know it's an eyesore. We look like you know, I mean, it wouldn't be much for 10 gallons of paint.
That would be within the building permits purview in all likelihood.
You
It
couldn't
sounds like
recommend
it being.
you couldn't recommend it during the meeting, and
No,
if they agreed to
no,
it.
we could not.
Not even
We
in
could
agreement.
say that.
Can I ask him if he would do that? In the meeting?
What I'm saying to you is that the sheathing has apparently been delaminating. In all likelihood, the sheathing will be replaced, and the outside will be the first thing that they do in this kind of weather.
Right, 3 months from now. So for 9 months, I'm staring at plywood.
How long's it been that way now?
6 months.
Oh, the property.
6 months. They moved in. There was siding on the home. wasn't the best looking, but it didn't look like we're pulling into Watts.
It's up to Mrs. Saka then. Would you like to paint that?
Well, I have a different question. If the driveway was able to be approved as is, I don't know if that would save time. I would like to get this done in the
It's not gonna
quickest
save
way
any
possible.
time.
To be,
It's not going to save you any
to
time.
be
I
fair,
won't save any time? Okay.
Yeah, but to be fair, a driveway has nothing to do with painting a home.
No.
I mean, and they certainly couldn't paint at this point in the year, given the temperatures.
No.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 50 degrees and rising
It would just
to
fall
put
off.
paint on. Yeah,
Put it on.
and I'm just letting thinking about it. It's gonna be 9 degrees on Monday. So,
I apologize for the.
No, it's
that-
I'm
it
not a
bothered-
bad guy.
it bothered-
It's tiring.
Believe it
You
or
know
not,
what I
it
mean?
bothers me more than
It's
it
tiring.
bothers you, and it was not in the intent.
No, I get it. I'm not. I've no heart.
I apologize for that.
I'm not upset with you. It's
We want to get this done very quickly.
So what would satisfy the board in terms of this
Well,
objection?
Well, first you have to get your resolution, then you have to get your permits.
Well, no, I think
But I'd like not to belabor this over a year. Okay, so
Talking about 1 year. That gives
the
them a
whole-
lot of time to finish this property.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's a reasonable time.
Right.
And it gives a
Well,
deadline.
And the variance, if you don't finish in a year, the variances go
Right,
away.
back-
You gotta
For your
go back.
benefit, though, sir. Well, the other thing is, if we hem them in closer than a year and they can't get it done, then they have to come back here. They have to halt,
No, I
come back, and then
understand.
you've got
I
lawyers.
really have no argument for
I
them
know,
to develop the property.
No, I know.
I wanted to voice my opinion and let them know, that there are residents in the neighborhood that obviously
Would prefer it gets done quickly.
aren't ready for the
really do.
turnover and now living in.
Really do appreciate it.
Sir, I do understand your concerns because I've ridden past that too, and I looked at it, and it's I wondered why there's sheathing and nothing. I want to get it done too.
Has the applicant been cited by any of our departments?
Once, I believe, for debris, and probably maybe for grass, but not for anything else.
Okay. Well, I would suggest to the board to give the applicant sufficient time to complete it and to make sure that he has an impetus to complete it, not go to another project.
Right.
That we say that it has to be all completed within 1 year.
Okay.
1 year from approval, 1 year from resolution?
No, 1 year from
Today.
Approval.
Okay.
1 year from today.
So it's got to be done by
You got 9 months from permit.
16th, 2020.
Yes.
Or 17th. Okay. That the issuance of a CO will, if not, then the variances lapse. I get a CO by 1/17/20.
Well, you're assuming that it'll take 3 months or less to complete the process?
Well,
I'm into the prime building season.
You're-
May, June, July, August, September, October. He's got 6 months of prime building season.
I'm assuming
Put
if
a
you.
second story on a house.
But I think we have to assume if you
you're
apply for the permits, you'll have the resolution next month. If you apply for the permits in a timely fashion, that it will be done. If you wait to apply for the permits, you're going to be in trouble. So that's what it comes down to.
So we could apply for the permits while we're waiting for the resolution?
Yes.
You
So that
can-
saves a month. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. We're waiting anyway, so
Oh, they
it's
can, yeah.
wonderful.
I just would like to tell the board,
Okay.
prior to the comment, it was the intention to apply immediately, and now we will, of course, do that.
Okay.
But first, you're going to have to design the driveway and show it to the engineer. I mean, that all takes a little time.
So that you have
That's why I was saying
that you have to get done and get in touch with Mr. Fitzgerald as soon as possible.
Can you meet?
He's not here.
That's Mr. Higgins. That's Higgins.
Meet with you?
No, you'd have to get in touch with it.
You have to
Call
go
Rachel
through
tomorrow.
Rachel or Amy.
Is there anybody else in the audience?
Well, I'm working on that.
So-
Sir, are you finished?
I am. Thank
Okay. The best we could do for you is here.
Well, we didn't do anything, but thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience to be heard?
Okay, you don't block it?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
Rachel, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Action.
I'll move for a positive resolution, subject to the driveway being made satisfactory to the engineer, and 1 year from today.
And the
And
patio.
the patio.
And the patio to conform.
Setbacks to conform.
Okay.
Second.
Rachel, please call the roll.
I'm going to vote yes. I would just suggest to the owners, talk to the neighbors. You don't want them calling the township all the time about, debris and things like that. Talk to the neighbors and see if you can, get things to a good place with them.
Thank you.
Vote yes.
Good suggestion.
Ms. Levine?
Yes.
Mr. Sepulveda?
Yes.
Mr. Snow?
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Yes.
And Mr. Samalka?
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell?
Yes.
Okay.
Please call Rachel tomorrow, and please call Mr. Fitzgerald and get your driveway engineering done as quickly as possible. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. That
Thank you.
concludes this application. Let the record show that Chairman Good is in audience with us tonight. And that brings us to our last case of the evening. RC Realty South LLC, Block 3, Lots 20.01, 3, 2133-2135, Highway 35, Oakhurst, Zone C2. This is an application to amend the preliminary final site plan approval in order to phase the project. Attorney for the applicant, Gerald N. Sonnenblick. Sorry, I get your name wrong all the time.
He's a little younger
It's
now.
not Jerry, and we're not getting a joke. Right?
No jokes. No jokes.
No jokes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and professionals. Peter Licata of Sonnenblick, Parker, and Selvers on behalf of the applicant, RC Realties North. Mr. Sonnenblick has retired. He's my father-in-law, as a side note, and I'm stepping up to take over his practice. We are here tonight to request your amendment of your previously granted approval only in order to allow us to move ahead with the replacement of the existing pylon sign in accordance with the approval for that sign you previously granted. so that my client can meet its franchise obligations in terms of the timing of its branding, image, and signage. We are not here to seek any other revisions to any of the other improvements that you previously approved. It's simply a matter of phasing or timing.
Okay. Rachel, please mark it, the packet. Okay. While we do that, Mr. Higgins?
Yes, okay. And I will summarize. As Mr. Licata said, what they're proposing to do is take a prior approval, not change the substance of the approval, but simply create two phases. The first phase would be the construction of the sign that they proposed. The second phase would be the construction of everything else that was approved by the board.
Okay.
The only concerns I had were that the plans only showed the phasing for lot 2.01, which is the Lexus site. There were improvements on lot 3, which is the Maserati site. So I said, that first of all, they should show a plan showing the phasing on the Maserati site also, so it's clear, and make the plans for the Lexus site a little bit clearer. I had a little bit of difficulty determining what was phase 2 and what wasn't phase 2 on that site. And Mr. Comey said he would be very glad to revise the plans to make it clear enough that even I could understand.
Okay, so we solved that issue.
Yes, so I have no problem at all with the application.
Okay. Is there
There are no substantive issues on engineering. The only question would be that there's a branding issue, and there's the pylon sign, and there's a sign on the building that may have to also be altered or replaced in order to meet the branding requirements by Lexus. Is that true? Okay.
Oh,
okay.
There
we go.
It's just the pylon sign there. Okay.
So it's only the pylon sign.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I have yes, I have with me Andrew Comey, who is our project engineer. He is a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name.
Andrew R. Comey, C-O-M-I. I'm with Kennedy Consulting Engineers, 211 Maple Avenue, Red Bank, New Jersey.
Okay.
Andrew, you've testified before this and other boards before?
I have, yes.
I would just ask that his qualifications be accepted by the board. You heard me give the introduction whereby I represented to the board that the only amendment to the existing approval we're seeking is to allow the applicant to proceed with the replacement of the previously approved sign in advance of the other improvements for which the board granted approval when we were last here.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that correct? And would it also then be correct to say definitively that as with respect to the other improvements, the construction of the building addition, the additional parking spaces, the relocation of trash areas and tanks, and the elimination of fencing by Welts Park, the elimination of, the removal of the canopy on Lot 3, and the additional landscaping along the southern side of that site, that we are not proposing any changes, any enlargements, any reductions, or any relocations of those improvements. It's just we need to move ahead with the sign before everything else.
That's correct. No changes to the remainder of the improvements. And as Mr. Higgins and I discussed, we will make the plans even more clear in that regard.
And you will satisfy with all the recommendations in his report of January 15th.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll open up the witness to any questions the board may have.
Do we get to see the sign?
Yes, absolutely.
I did see the sign.
You saw it previously, but we're happy to show it to you again.
We approved the sign.
It was previously approved.
When?
Simply
It's phasing.
Yeah, we did this. Okay, we approved this.
You're a sign guy.
This was a while ago again, right?
Yeah.
Do you have it if you'd like to see?
Okay.
Do we
Is
want
that
to mark?
marked?
Do we want to mark that?
This is not marked.
It's beautiful.
I have small size versions.
Why don't we mark that? That way you can keep that. This was 2015?
Yeah, remember you love signs and you went off on it.
I probably did.
You did.
It's the new Lexus sign all over.
Okay. Okay.
Just to briefly explain, this exhibit entitled E01 Inventory Recommendation Detail. It's undated, but it was prepared by the sign manufacturer
AGI Incorporated. It shows at the top of the page the current sign, and the bottom of the page is a rendering showing the replacement of that existing sign and the proposed Lexus sign.
Nice. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That refreshes our memory.
Yes.
At least mine.
You weren't here. You weren't here.
I wasn't here, right?
You were absent.
I was absent. Okay, that's why I didn't see the sign. Okay, any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Good. Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
Rachel, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. He said yes.
Action.
All right, well, before you do any action, I just so happen to have a resolution with me.
Oh.
Because this matter has been pending with Mr. Sonnenblood for about a year.
That's even better.
Because of his, to coordinate it took some time. So, and we, the manufacturer, I understand, is penalizing the dealership. So, in order to move it along, based upon the reports and based upon the testimony submitted, I can read this resolution and then we get it done tonight.
Please do.
Okay. It's entitled Resolution of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Ocean, amended preliminary and final major site plan approval as to phasing only. Whereas an application for preliminary and final site plan approval to expand the existing automotive sales and service facility on premises known and designated as 2133-2135 Highway 35 Oakhurst, Block 3, Lots 2.01 and 3 in the C2 zone of the tax map of the Township of Ocean was approved by the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Ocean on March 12, 2015, as memorialized on April 23, 2015. And whereas the applicant RC Realties South LLC has applied to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for an amendment to the major site plan to provide for the phasing of the anticipated development. And whereas the Board of Adjustment of the Township of Ocean held a public hearing on January 17, 2019, and the surrounding property owners have been given notice, the applicant having published notice as required by law. And whereas the Board of Adjustment of the Township of Ocean has reviewed the plans of same entitled amended preliminary and final site plan RC Realties South LLC, Lexus of Monmouth, lots 2.01 and 3 of Block 3, Ocean Township, Monmouth County, NJ, Tax Map Sheet 9, revised 4/21/93, prepared by Kennedy Consulting Engineers, LLC, James A. Kennedy, period dated October 22, 2018, consisting of 2 sheets described as follows: Sheet 1, layout and phasing plan; Sheet 2, pylon sign detail. Whereas the applicant seeks a phasing plan so that the prior approval will be separated into 2 stages of development, the first being the pylon sign as required by the car dealership franchisor, and the second being the balance of the site development as approved. Whereas the aforesaid plans have been reviewed by the Township Planner by report dated January 15, 2019, and the Board Engineer by reports dated January 17, 2019, which said officials have found the proposed plans to be satisfactory, subject to the following conditions as set hereinafter set forth. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Adjustment of the Township of Ocean that the amended preliminary and final major site plan application of RC Realties South LLC as to phasing only being is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions. 1. Subject to Township Planner's requirements as set forth in its report dated January 15, 2019, which requires the submission of revised plans to show the improvements in the appropriate phase, and same to include a plan showing the improvement to Lot 3. 2. Period compliance with any and all conditions as to the original preliminary and final site plan approval. And the rest is all the standard language that we put into our resolution as to compliance.
Thank you very much for preparing that.
If you want to vote on that, you may do so tonight, so we can offer it.
I move to approve the resolution.
Second. Rachel, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Levine?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Worrell?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your consideration. Thank you for your assistance.
She'll send you a signed one.
That concludes our business for tonight. Thank you all.
There's a company in here, you'll vote from Chairman.
Yeah.